folks. This is my third time recording this episode. The first time, I didn't record the audio, and I recorded the entire video with no audio. The second time, I recorded the audio with no video, and so it's just a large audio file with absolutely no video. I did not hit play on the recording device, the video recording device. So this is literally the third time of me recording this episode. So here's what we're going to do. First of all, I don't need your pity. I just need your understanding. That's all I'm asking for, because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to film this introduction right here. We're going to move on into and transition into the episode. And it is just simply, if you're watching on the audio file, you won't really hear much of a transition. It'll virtually be the same because you already have that audio file. But if you're watching over here on the YouTube channel, we are going to actually cut to the audio section. So you can continue to watch here on the YouTube video, but it will transition just into a logo where you will be able to listen in on the YouTube channel and listen in on the YouTube video, but not necessarily have any video. And then if you're listening on the audio platforms, just continue to stay tuned because it'll just be normal for you. Just note that this is a little bit more of a consolidated episode because even when you do hear this audio, it is the second time of me recording. So just bear with me. Again, please hit that subscribe button as always. You know what? Don't even do it this time. You know what? I don't even deserve it. I don't even deserve it. I've messed up. This is my third time recording. So you know what? We'll take a pass. I won't ask you to hit that subscribe button right now. I think I do a little bit later in the audio recording, which is a little bit earlier for me because it's literally all messed up. But just know that you don't have to, because I'm a mess and I've messed up this episode so badly that I do not deserve for you to bestow upon me a subscription. So please, no pity, just understanding as we move into this episode of The Glorious Rescue.
Aren't you tired of feeling forced to choose between staying informed and being indoctrinated? Listen to the condensed news cycle without the lies, agendas, and confusion from the mainstream media, all while engaging in deeper discussions about the principles that have influenced our great nation. This is what rescuing America looks like. This is The Glorious Rescue.
Welcome back to another episode of The Glorious Rescue. I have bad news, and that is that I have completely already recorded this episode. The problem is I did not record the audio. So we are facing technical difficulties. So with that, I've already recorded this entire episode, and I don't want to do it again. It's frustrating to me. So what I'm actually going to do is go through it a little bit more consolidated. It's going to be a vastly more consolidated episode, but it's good in the sense that it is going to give us more content to talk about in the next episodes. Make sure to tune in next week. Obviously, we have episodes released every Tuesday and Friday. This episode being released on a Friday. So be prepared for next week's episodes, because in next week, we are going to have more Asking Strangers questions. We're going to have another Asking Strangers episode, so make sure to tune in. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, because we are going to be bringing back more of those discussions, as well as jumping into today, just for a second time, I should say, jumping in a second time today, just some of the headlines. And again, I'm just going to briefly give you the headlines to keep you informed of the headlines, but not to spend too much time on it. So first of all, one of the things that I wanted to bring attention to is the fact that Joe Biden says he is going to not speak out against literally the genocide of Muslims in China. In fact, here's what he said when asked about it. He seemed to defend it in a CNN town hall when he said, quote, "Culturally, there are different norms that each country and their leaders are expected to follow. And because of that, he is not going to, quote, speak out against the Chinese Communist Party." It is not even denied that factually the Chinese Communist Party slaughters Muslims, slaughters them, mass genocide. And Joe Biden just said that culturally, it's just a different norm, that it is only a cultural norm. Now, a former Secretary of Defense, I believe it was, former Department of Defense Chief of Staff, Kash Patel, said that if that were Trump, it would be a catastrophic calamity. It would be a global calamity. And I do think that's true, but that's not the focus here. The focus isn't that it's hypocritical, although it completely is. The focus here is that we have a sitting American president, the leader of the free world, saying that mass genocide of innocent people is a quote-unquote cultural norm. I find it absolutely appalling, absolutely disgusting that this is not being talked about more than it is, not being appalled by and disgusted by the left, But again, the purpose is not the hypocrisy. The purpose is what he actually said. There's other things, for instance, like Russia pushing forward a pipeline that is just bringing Estonia further and further into its own grips. Joe Biden doing absolutely nothing about it. And then also in regards to the Paris Peace Accord and China, an environmental expert who I will link the article down below because I don't have too much time to reference, has come out and said that China is going to be given a leg up in many, many different ways. Financially, because it's literally going to be paid to be in this agreement, and it is being paid. America is going to follow it, and China is not. So there's another reason. And also the idea that China is going to be hailed as this wonderful environmental country, an environmentally friendly country, when it's not. It's able to increase its carbon emissions for the next 10 years, increase the emissions for 10 years under this agreement. So that's kind of how the United States is being taken advantage of. But more importantly, the awful things Joe Biden was saying about the Chinese Communist Party. Next, things turning on themselves, people turning on themselves. Mainly what I want to talk about is just the White House press secretary defending the same exact quote-unquote cages that Trump had, and that Biden said was just an absolute abuse of human rights. And a Fox News reporter, when started pressing the press secretary and asking the press secretary, Psaki, if she, why? Why is it justified that Biden is now doing it? Because Kamala Harris during the race said it was just awful. And her response was basically that it was COVID's fault, that it's only temporary, so it's okay, and that virtually it was okay because it's being done under Joe Biden and not Donald Trump. That's literally what it was. It is quite sad to think that we have leaders like that in our country. Nevertheless, just one last little bit of encouragement for you. If you have thought that America and the American government has become too dictatorial, too totalitarian during this COVID and its restriction of our rights, then I want you to know that someone would be in agreement with you, and that is a former Clinton advisor. Yes, that is correct. A former advisor to liberal Bill Clinton has come out and said that the U.S. is becoming more totalitarian under these lockdowns. So there you go. There you go. If it helps you in any way, if it helps push your case to know that a former advisor to President Bill Clinton agrees with you that the United States is becoming more and more totalitarian. I mean, I think that kind of seals the deal. If a former advisor to President Bill Clinton says the United States is becoming more oppressive to its people, then probably the American government is becoming too oppressive to its own people. Nevertheless, that is actually going to wrap up that portion as we move into very quickly the last story, and that is that an Archbishop of the Catholic Church has told Joe Biden to literally stop calling himself a Catholic. Please, Joe Biden, stop identifying yourself as a Catholic. If you remember, the left absolutely ridiculed Mike Pence for calling himself a Christian, and we know that Christianity is different than Catholicism, but absolutely railed Mike Pence, saying that he heard voices in his head and he was literally crazy. But then they hail and they praise Joe Biden for his conviction and his absolute dedication to the Catholic faith. Well, not just the hypocrisy of the attention that Joe Biden gets for his quote-unquote faith, but also the hypocrisy of Joe Biden's actual beliefs against his supposed Catholic faith. Mainly, the reason why this Archbishop has said this, I do believe, is because of his stance on abortion. I believe it is the traditional Catholic view of being pro-life, and Joe Biden is very, very much pro-abortion. Therefore, the Archbishop has begged him, please, Joe Biden, please stop calling yourself a Catholic. To which I reply, please, listeners, please hit that subscribe button. Oh man, I cracked myself up. That wasn't even planned. But anyways, please hit that subscribe button. Please continue to share these episodes. I want to thank you so much for all of you who have been listening to the show since the beginning, or all of you new listeners as well who are continuing to hit that subscribe button, continuing to hit that share button. That is going to wrap up today's episode. I had already recorded an end of show segment. I'd already gotten into all of this information a little bit deeper, but unfortunately, I don't have the patience nor the time, moving on to other things, to completely redo it again. And so what we're actually going to do is save some of that content for next episode and next week's episodes. Maybe not next episode, because it might just be an Asking Strangers episode, but that end of show segment will be set aside for next week's episodes, as well as more of this content, and also more of these articles will be posted in the description below for you to be able to reference. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Josiah Evertson, and this is The Glorious Rescue.